Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy working from the trenches, working your way up, and escaping? Do you enjoy going to the gym at 6 in the morning, waking up at 5 a.m., waking up at 4 a.m., waking up 4 hours before everyone else? Do you enjoy having no rest time in the day at all? Do you enjoy having a full schedule? Do you enjoy having no one to talk to? No one to talk to for real? Do you enjoy constantly being upbeat? Because that's transurfing principle. Do you enjoy having no rest time? Do you enjoy having to be on the edge all the time because you have to keep up with the demand? These are all the questions that I'm asking myself lately. So I got done with my meditation, and then I came downstairs just tired. Few words were on my mind, like burnout, rest, loneliness. And I went down to open my notebook to write some notes, and nothing would come out, which has been a normal occurrence lately. No notes are coming out, and I suspect it's because I've just been doing the same thing every day, so I've kind of like used up all of the stuff that I am talking about because I'm not changing anything. Like back during summertime, every once in a while I'd go to the mall or I would go to the park, and then like I would do things different and I would get new epiphanies often. But I've just been in like the monotony of life and the grind of just getting through the day every day, getting through the week, getting through the month, and finally getting through the school year. So I just got into the monotony of life. Every day is the same for me. And there was one thing that was holding me up, like one thing keeping me good and keeping me getting new content to talk about. And that was, I was reading Transurfing. And that was a book that I was very familiar with. And I like was getting new epiphanies every single day from that because I already had like a baseline familiarity with it. I just wanted to expand my knowledge, and I was taking a lot of notes. So that book was exactly what like really got me through the first like semester or the first quarter of my senior year. And I'm talking in regards to this podcast. It's what got me through and got me having enough things to talk about on the show. And then I feel like I've lost myself somewhere because once I started reading the Dancing After the Music Stops, I remember just reading it in the morning, being so like amazed at what life can actually be like. And then once I was done reading it, like I would always read it before school. So I'd read until 7:20, and then once that clock hit 7:20, I had to get up and go to school, go force myself to go somewhere I didn't want to be, force myself to do stuff that I didn't want to do. And I remember getting these like really like sadness in my head. Just like low regard, or I was like upbeat and I was excited for like the day, for my life during like when I'm reading, and after school I am. But then once it's time to go to school, like my mind instantly shifts to another level and it just turns into like mush, essentially. And then I started reading Die Wise. And to be honest, it's like very foreign to me. Like, I don't understand. I've never really thought about any of the topics on it. And I'm not quite sure if I'm really comprehending much of it. Because I don't really know if my reading situation is very good anymore. When I was reading Transurfing, and actually, I've had my reading, like, den is in my room. And it's in my room because it's isolated and I don't get distractions. Like, I don't have my family trying to talk to me while I'm reading. And it worked for the past couple of months. I've been doing it for maybe like 3 or 4 months. And then just like slowly but surely, I am just kind of drudging away in my reading. I'm still reading, it's just very slow. And I don't feel as like inspired. Like I don't know what's with it. There's a lot of things like going downhill right now in my just everything all around. And I'm not sure like what to do about it. I'm not sure what's causing it. I don't know like what to do. And there's one thing that's on my mind that's lingering. I'm struggling to keep up with daily episodes. Like today, I was sitting down here for like 15 minutes trying to just come up with something to say. And then the thing that's on my mind is I'm going on vacation next month, which is good. I definitely need that rest. But I plan on actually using it as rest. So that means that I have to get some episodes published before then so I can like be prepared and not have to record there. So that's like a whole thing. I am barely able to keep up with daily content, and then I have to somehow figure out how to get enough content for 7 extra episodes on top of what I'm already doing, which might actually need to be 9 extra episodes because I'm going out of town the weekend before. So that might be on my mind. I don't know. And another thing that's on my mind is I haven't done cardio. And I feel like my mind is like losing its sharpness. That may be like that may be a reason why I am not as like focused during my reading times. And it may be another reason why my mind just is not working as like clearly as it was a couple months ago. I haven't done cardio. And I know that cardio is very important just for the quality of my life in general. And it affects like all areas. So that's another thing. I'm just doing the same thing every day. It's just monotony. And so I want to talk about burnout. I'm not really sure if this is what burnout is, or maybe I just need a rest. And rest is overdue. Because like I said, I haven't really had a extended period of time off of podcasting. And even if it was like a few days off, it wasn't really rest. It was just me going out of town to Ohio to visit my extended family, and I don't consider that rest. So rest is needed. And I was sitting outside today. Today is October and in Chicago. Usually it's like pretty chilly outside. And it was all week. And then today it was 84 degrees outside. So it was pretty warm, and I was like cooking my food, and then I went outside to just relax for the little time that I had in the day to relax while the chicken was cooking, and it was literally only like 8 minutes. And I was just laying back there in the sun on like the lawn chair in my back porch, and I definitely I need rest. I'm not quite sure what to do. I'm not quite sure, like, I don't know. Things things just are not going as well as I expected them to be. And it's not because like I don't have many viewers on the podcast. It's just like I thought that I was going to be able to just grind out the rest of the school year for me and just be able to crank out daily 1 hour episodes just like that. And to be honest, I definitely can. I know I can. I just need to get some like new information and new insights in my day. And I feel like that's my biggest flaw right now is like I said, every day is the same. So how can I expect to get brand new information if every single day is the same? How can I expect to speak 1 more hour on information and content if every single day is the same, so I'm not really learning anything new? Like the only difference in my day, there is none, except in the mornings when I'm reading, I get a little further along in my books. But at the moment, I'm only reading Die Wise, which is a good book, but I don't understand it, so I can't really talk on it during the episode. And I have like a bunch of notes written down, but it's just me like copying text from the book that just sounded like good quotes, and I don't really understand like the meaning and the depth behind them. Like it worked copying down random quotes from Transurfing because I actually understood them because I had read the book before, and I actually understood like the concept and just everything. I understood a baseline of that book. So I could copy down random quotes and then speak on them. Like I was able to write down one quote and then speak on it for like 5 to 10 minutes. And that's what I did for the Transurfing Principles episodes. And that is definitely like that worked. And I used those Transurfing Principles episodes as my double episode days, which I don't have anything like that right now to prepare for the upcoming vacation. Like I would basically get a bunch of notes and then do a Transurfing Principles episode and get like one extra, basically do a double episode day, and then I would add those up until I was actually at like enough episodes recorded, like pre-scheduled. And right now I only have 7, and I need like 14 episodes to be able to actually not have to worry about recording. I could do like 8 or 9 episodes, but then I would have to figure out, I'd be in the same situation where I have to figure it out once I get back. So I'm not quite sure if that would really work. So I want to talk about the resistance. So this is a concept that I had understood for quite some time, but it was given a name in like I was told what the concept is called at Funnel Hacking Live. The first speech or the first kind of talk was Russell Brunson. He was talking about the resistance versus the calling. The calling is like it's not, it doesn't really matter for these purposes of this argument. So the resistance is basically things that your mind, it's your mind trying to hold you back. So whenever you're trying to do something and you don't want to, or your mind says, no, don't do that, even though you know you should do it, that's the resistance. Like yesterday, I had to record the TikToks after recording the episode, the podcast episode. And I remember one of the TikToks was supposed to be about discipline. And so I like looked at what it was about, and I was like, okay, what should the hook be? And so the hook was, I figured out what the hook was, because the hook of that episode was, did you know that I didn't want to record this episode? And which was true, because I was sitting here watching my the podcast episode, edit and then schedule, and I knew that I had to record these TikToks, which would take like less than 5 minutes, but I just didn't want to do it. That's the resistance. And it was good because I made a good like hook and a good episode, or a good short form video, a good TikTok out of it. But that's the resistance, and everyone experiences the resistance. It's just those who ignore it and do it anyways that actually get success. And so pretty much courage is having fear but doing it anyways. And the way I like to think of discipline is experiencing the resistance but doing it anyways. So pretty much discipline is you doing something when you don't want to do it. Like, that's discipline. So I used discipline, like that short where I said, did you know I didn't want to record this? I ended up saying, like, that was a short about discipline. And so I like went on and said that I did it because I have discipline, and I taught how to actually build discipline by taking cold showers. So that's kind of what I'm running off right now. I remember even like a couple weeks ago, I was like running off of motivation because that is exactly what I was inspired to do. I was inspired to record my episodes, and I was excited to get down here and record. But then something changed. Like, now I'm just running off of discipline, and I'm not quite sure like what changed. I don't really know what is like what I'm doing wrong, because I know that there's definitely something wrong. Like, there's a lot of inner tension going on in my like heart right now, but I'm not sure like what to do about it. So I'm just running off the discipline right now. And there was one moment today when I was laying on the couch just before my chicken had so there's multiple times when I'm cooking my chicken when I have like a brief moment to just sit and relax. And so the one when I was out in the lawn chair was one of the moments. It was later in the day, or later in the like couple minutes later. But the first moment that I had was like 5 minutes maybe, or 10 minutes maybe. And I was laying on the couch, just laying with my dog, and I was like really relaxed, and I was just laying there just enjoying the moment. And then the timer went off for the chicken, and I was like, I just said this one phrase in my head: go, go, go. Like, it's all just go, go, go. Like, my day is just constantly going, going, going. I don't have any time to rest. Like, during the summer, I had like all morning. I remember I would go to the park at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't come home until like 10, or it was usually like 11 or 11:30. So I had like 2 hours just to be outside in nature, to be outside in the sun, in the grass. But then I stopped doing that. Like, slowly but surely, I stopped doing that during the school year, and I haven't done it in quite some time. So pretty much I haven't really had any like downtime that's longer than like 5 or 10 minutes in the past couple weeks, which is definitely an issue, because I'm able to get through this through discipline, but why would I put myself through that? Why would I just drudge away? Because it's definitely affecting my podcast episodes. Like, today's episode is all about like how I don't want to be doing this anymore, which is systemically a bad episode, but I feel like it's part of the journey. I feel like people are definitely going to be having down days, and I should be documenting my off days just as much as my like up days or my good days. And the issue is that I don't have rest. Like going back to that story of when I was laying on the couch with my dog and then the timer went off and I got up and I was like, go, go, go. Like I was really relaxed laying down there, and I knew that it was only going to last a few minutes. And then the timer went off and I was like, go, go, go. Just like kind of annoyed at what I'm doing. And it's annoying because I have the discipline to actually push through it, but it's also like not enjoyable. Like I find that I'm just doing the same exact things every day, which I'm used to. I usually do like the same morning routine every day pretty much for the past couple of years. But this past like 2 months, I really vamped it up. Like usually I would have the same morning routine. I would do the same thing from the moment I wake up until I get to school. And actually at school I would do the same thing also because that's the nature of school. But then after school I would pretty much do whatever I wanted. Usually it was reading, which ended up being the same thing, but at least it was like I didn't have like the obligation to do the same things over and over and over again. But during this past school year, I wake up, do the same morning routine, and then I go to school, same school routine, and then I come home, or actually I'd go to the gym, same gym routine, and then I'd come home, eat, same thing, and then I would meditate, same thing, and I would do all this at the same exact time. Like I'd always get in my room and start meditating at 2:30. And then once I was done meditating, I just drank the my nighttime supplements with in a water, and then go straight downstairs and then start the episode no later than like 3:30. And then once I was done with the episode, I would like edit, do all that stuff, record the shorts, and then I would come upstairs no later than 5 o'clock. And then I would go to my nighttime routine and then go to bed no later than 6:15 or 6:20. And that's like just monotony written all over. I do the same exact thing every day. I'm like a robot. And I've convinced myself that this is like what successful looks like. The this is like I took on the persona, the identity of a successful person, and I just assume that this is what successful people do. They have like very good routines, which I'm not sure. Like I don't know. And there was one day when I was on my phone on YouTube because I was posting my episodes. And when I load up YouTube, my like recommended feed shows up, but usually I just ignore it and then go quickly to my profile and then post my videos because I'm not interested in watching the videos. But this one day, I like had a glimpse of the YouTube feed, and there was one episode that was recommended to me, and it was an Alex Hormozy episode, or it was an Alex Hormozy video on YouTube, and it basically said something about like why it was something about how routines are actually bad and they're not helping you. And I didn't click on it. I didn't watch it. Maybe I should have watched it because that sounds like exactly what I need to watch at this time. But it's interesting because right now I'm like, I have an extremely strict routine and I'm kind of feeling the negative effects of it. Yeah, it's definitely helping me be productive. It's definitely helping me make sure that I get all of these like things checked off on my day every single day. But To what end? Like, at what point will I switch? What point will things happen? What point will change happen? Like, I tell myself once I get like successful, but where is that? Like, when is that going to happen, and what does that look like? Like, I tell myself once I get 100 followers on my podcast, I'm going to start actually working on the business side of things. What will actually make me money? But then once I actually get that, right now, like I said, I have an extremely strict routine. Like, I have no time in my day. How am I going to find the time to work on the business? How am I going to find the time for that? Because if I'm grinding away and I have zero time on the weekdays, and then the weekend comes and I just need to relax, like over these past couple weekends, I've literally been taking like 2-hour naps because I'm so like burnt. I just go do my normal morning routine, and then until 8 o'clock, until 9 o'clock. No, 8 o'clock. Do it until 8 o'clock, and then I start my nap. I take a nap, and I don't like. I sometimes I set an alarm, but usually when I set an alarm, I turn it off. It's like a 26-minute alarm. I turn it off and just go back to bed. So I've been taking like 2-hour naps. So that's pretty much like half of the day just asleep, which is definitely good. It's like good rest, but where will I find any time for any of this stuff? Right now, like over the past couple of months, I told myself that this is all I need to be doing. All I need to worry about is the podcast. Just post daily, every day for the next year. That's it. But I'm almost on episode 100, and I haven't seen like any growth. I actually lost growth. Like last month I had 362 downloads, I think, which at the time I didn't realize that meant that I had an average of like 11 or 10 and a half downloads per day. Like, I just thought that I had like 6 or 7 downloads per day. That meant that there was a few days in September where I had like more downloads, like 50 downloads or something like that in a day. But then this month has been like a really big downhill. Like, so far, it's the 24th of October, and I only have like 260 or 220 downloads. So I'm not really worried about the numbers, because the difference between 360 and 260 doesn't really matter, because they're both really low. So it doesn't really matter if I lose downloads. It doesn't matter if I go down to like 20 downloads in a month, because it's all the same. Like, it's both really low numbers. So, like, yeah, there's a difference, but not too big of a difference. Once you start getting like the big numbers, like thousands of downloads or tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, then that's where it actually starts to go uphill. Like, if I got 100 followers that listen to every single one of my episodes, then that's like 3,000 downloads a month. So what do you think? 300 or 3,000? Because 300 is 10, and then 3,000 is 100 followers. And even like 100 followers is not that much in the grand scheme of things. You're probably not going to be running a huge business off of that. So I don't know. Maybe what I was saying the other day about how if I was in it for more than just the money, then I wouldn't have any issue pushing forward. Maybe that's my issue. Maybe I'm worried about the money, because that brings me to the next point. I feel really lonely. There's no one around me to talk to. Like, I don't have anyone to talk to about my current situation, because I'm just surrounded by average mediocrity. So no one really knows like what's going on. And I feel like I just have to go on this journey myself. And one habit that I am very not happy about having is I'm very closed. So if people are interested in like hearing about my life, I'm very closed. I lie all the time. And I don't tell anyone about anything because I'm trying to protect myself. I don't want people to I don't want to have to get into a big conversation about all that stuff. And then I'm thinking like, how come I'm just in a sea of mediocrity where no one even knows what's going on? Like, I look left and right around me and I just have to go on like it's just a normal day. I'm like all alone. I feel extremely lonely throughout the day. And I feel like almost let down, or I feel like I've been missing out on a big part of like life, because if you grow up in mediocrity but then you choose to be great and successful, well then no one around you is going to be able to relate. So you're kind of like that odd fish that is off in the corner doing their own thing, and then when you start to struggle, you just have to struggle alone, and then you're just because no one knows like how to help you, and to be honest, no one wants to help you. Everyone's worried about their own averageness, mediocre. And so I feel like I've like missed out. I feel like a piece of life has been taken away from me because I'm missing out from being in a community where people are like-minded. Like so far I've only met like one or two people, and to be honest, I don't talk to them that often. I've only met like one or two people in my life that are on a similar journey to me. And even then I realized that we're all three of us are in on completely different journeys. And so even then I still have a hard time like talking to them about like my stuff. And it's also another thing. You don't have any role model for success. Like no one shows me what success looks like. No one has showed me what greatness looks like. No one showed me how to be great. So I'm left on my own to figure it out, which is fine. But that's another thing I feel like I was robbed. Just growing up, I feel like I was robbed because all around me, as I'm like learning more and more and enveloping this identity more and more of success, and like taking in this new identity of being a successful person, there's no one to talk to. And like that's a huge that may be another huge like burden that's placed on me, because I'm just over here in my own like area, in my own like corner of my life. No one around me. I just have to figure it all out myself. So maybe some of you guys are in a situation like that too. Just know that you're not alone. And I feel alone because I don't know of anyone else that's in a situation like this. So I wrote some notes down, and I pretty much got okay. So, and one of the biggest burdens of it all is I don't have any I feel like I have no room to make mistakes. And when I make mistakes, especially like in days like this when I'm like lower level energy, low like motivation, everything, then I feel like I've kind of just completely failed my mission. Like today, like lately, I've my mental control, like my mental game, the mental side of things has been like not very controlled. Like I haven't really been controlling my thoughts, my attention, not nearly as much as I want to be. And I feel like I'm like losing my goal. Like today I spent like the whole day. Yeah, here and there I was like controlling my thoughts. But I spent like the majority of the day, even like this whole past week, today and yesterday, I spent the majority of my time just not thinking about my goal. Like there's a lot of the day that goes by where I don't think about my goal. And I remember in the locker room today at the gym, I was like, I just told myself, don't forget about my order. Don't forget about your order. Because I brought my note card that I talked about yesterday of my goal. I wrote down my entire goal on a note card. And I brought that with me to school and then to the gym. And I saw like my note card and I just realized that I hadn't thought about it like very often. And so I said, don't forget about your order, because I'm not thinking about it nearly as much as I like want to be, or nearly as much as I think I should be in order to actually achieve it. Because that's one of the first principles that I learned from Napoleon Hill. I haven't really studied him that much, but I just from the little bits of information that I picked up from him is one of the things is you have to have a burning desire to actually achieve your goal. And I question if I even have that. I just have discipline. Like that's all I have. I don't have a burning desire to achieve it. But then like I don't have a burning desire to achieve it. But when things happen like throughout my day and I see things and I experience things that I don't want to experience, and it's like a lot of private stuff that um I don't want to like share because it relates my personal life, which that's another thing. Like I want to be able to tell all the stuff, but other people have placed rules upon what I share on my podcast. Like they've controlled my show, and I'm respecting it for now. Until I break free and live on my own, then it's all fair game. But like during the day, like I still see many different like just terrible sights, just mediocrity written all over it, and it's just disgusting to see. And I'm just like, this is where I'm headed, but I also don't like I'm like if I'm left on my default path, that's where I'm headed, because that's the nature of things. If if there's no intervention by me, that's where I'm headed. Mediocrity. And then I am intervening. I am doing my own stuff. I am changing things. But I'm just using discipline. Like the only times I have a burning desire to escape is when I'm like at one of those low moments when like things are not going right, or at least like when I really want to say, just whenever I see people that I'm close to just like on their phones at like 4 in the morning, just staring at it, looking like zombies. When I see people playing video games, like just all day, it's like though at those moments, that's when I really want to leave. I really want to make it. And I knew that this like senior year is probably gonna be the hardest year mentally. I was aware of that going in, because from the moment that I realized like that I wanted to escape, like the moment that I kind of So pretty much my journey, I started becoming more aware of things when I started reading. And like I've said in previous episodes, the first book that I really started to become aware of like the system that we're in is a book called Unscripted. And I realized that if I was left to my own like default, if I was left without my personal intervention, then I was headed for the slow lane. And I didn't want that. But I kind of just put that in the like back corner of like my intentions so I could focus on like my own personal development and reading about other stuff. And then like I got to the point where I was reading about estrogenics, like a book called Estrogeneration, and I was trying to make all these changes in my lifestyle and switch out a lot of products for like healthier, more natural products. And it got to the point where it was like too expensive and like I couldn't, since I didn't have any income, I didn't have like people didn't want to like buy all the stuff for me. And so what I realized then and there was like I've reached kind of the peak of progressing my health from where I'm at. So now what I need to do to like progress my health more is work on business and improve my income and actually start making money. And so I knew that I had to start making money. And then I started reading books like .com Secrets, Expert Secrets, and then I started reading books more about like transurfing and worldview and stuff like that. So I was learning about like all this stuff, financial freedom, how to make a business. I was learning about worldview and how most people are in this system of thought, like their thoughts are keeping them trapped in a cage. And I understood, like, especially during summer, once I started becoming more and more conscious of like the reality of what I'm in, once I started becoming more and more conscious of just the position that I'm in right now, I realized like, oh, this is actually like, I don't like this. And I started being more aware of bad things happening around me that no one thinks like no one's none the wiser. People just think that it's normal. And I thought it was normal as well until it was brought to my attention that this stuff is actually bad. And so slowly but surely over summer, it got like bad and bad and bad. It started getting I had to build my mental control, my mental fortitude more and more to keep up with my raising consciousness. I was becoming more and more conscious of all of like the just poison around me. And I'm not just talking about physical poison, I'm talking about mental poison. Just seeing all the mediocrity around me. So then I reached like a point where it was time to go to school. And so I was entering the beast that actually like conditions people to enter this mediocrity like age. And I knew that it was going to be tough. I knew it was going to be tough, but I just thought that I was going to be able to like stroll right through it. And even during summer, I was writing my journal like I just want to drop out of school. Even before school even started, I just wanted to drop out of school. But then there was this one nice thing of the novelty. Once school actually started, I actually enjoyed it because it was novel. It was like the new thing at the time, which always happens every single school year, every single semester. I enjoy it because like in the beginning first couple of weeks I enjoy it because it's new and I'm like, "Oh, this stuff is actually good." But then after a few weeks, I get into the monotony and then I hate it again. So I realized like, okay, this is probably going to suck. And even like a couple of weeks ago, I was telling my friend like this is going to be the hardest time of my life mentally ever because I have been on this like downhill, or one could say uphill because I'm increasing my conscious awareness, but then it's also downhill because I'm becoming more aware of this stuff and it's actually like affecting me a lot more because Now I have to build up my mental fortitude to protect myself and like become ignorant to it again, even though I know it and I see it all around me. And now I've gotten to the point where I just see it constantly, and I've built up walls around myself. Like I've built up barriers. Like a lot of the times I am prepared to see mediocrity around me, and I'm just like, over the past couple weeks I've just been like ignoring it. But there are days, especially on days when my quality of sleep was not like perfect the night before, and I wake up where my mind is not very controlled. Like I don't have much control over my mind. Those days I see it and it starts irritating me, and I start like constantly thinking about it, and just like thinking about making a confrontation, like confronting the mediocrity around me, and like asking why you can't just be great, why you can't just be a good role model and be a good influence. And so it's been a really tough battle over the past couple of months. And I suspect that it's probably just going to get worse and worse from here. But then again, as I said that phrase, as that phrase came out of my mouth, I just became conscious of maybe I'm choosing for this to get worse and worse, because the world is a mirror and it reflects your relationship to it. So if I'm perceiving all this bad stuff around me, like, yeah, I do a good job sometimes putting up a wall and like trying to protect myself from like the disgust and horror around me. But then if these moments creep in where I'm just like, I think that it's getting worse and worse. Like I just spent the whole past hour or past 45 minutes talking about how my life is going downhill right now. And that's kind of like the burden that's been placed on me. Ever since I started reading Transurfing, I've become knowledgeable and aware and conscious of all of this like mental stuff. So I know like exactly like every single thought that enters my mind, I know if it's good or bad for my future. And so it's kind of like a burden, because sometimes I'm just like, my mind gets out of control, and then I feel like a complete failure and a loser. Like I'm not going to achieve my goals because I didn't control my mind for that one moment. So it's kind of like a burden. And I know that that's probably not like the right thing, because I remember one part of the book where he said to allow yourself to make mistakes every once in a while. Like don't try and be perfect, because you're not going to be perfect. So just allow yourself to make mistakes. And he did repeat that quite a few times, if I remember correctly. And I just like, it's when I'm in the day to day, I just find that my mental is like moments when I'm scattered, my mind is scattered, or moments when my mind is thinking bad thoughts that are not going to positively affect my future. I just feel like I'm like going to be stuck here forever. But then there's this one random thought that popped up earlier today when I was like, okay, well, I had this good run over these past couple of months, and then I just started going downhill over the past day. So the world is a mirror with a delay, and I've held up this strong image for the past couple of months, and this one day, this may not actually affect it that bad. May taint the image a little bit, but maybe not. So I feel like all of this stuff is leading to one conclusion. Maybe I should just reread Transurfing again for the third time. Maybe that is the solution to this whole thing. Because I'm trying to read all these new books. Yeah, they're good. But I'm also trying to keep a constant flow of just information and content for you guys. And it's like when I don't have information like today, like a day like today, I just feel like a failure, and I feel like I lost. Like yesterday's notes was literally like three lines, and that's it. today's notes was a lot more because I turned a bad thing into a good thing, where I'm actually telling you guys about all this like bad stuff that's going on right now, and like all the loneliness. Like I actually feel really lonely, and maybe it's maybe it's something because the one friend that I had was on the right path with me, Franklin, and we were on the right path, and then we kind of slowly started to go our own paths. And lately I've been disagreeing with what he's doing, which to be honest, it's not like it's just my mind trying to place control over the situation. And so we're both going our own paths, so I slowly just started to just phase him out and start to like just focus on my own stuff. Maybe that's another thing. Maybe me losing that piece, the one person that I had to talk to, maybe that's another bad thing. Let me get some water. Maybe I should reread Transurfing. That seems like the only solution that I can think of right now. Reread Transurfing, get some more content. But then I also want to read these books. And if I reread Transurfing, I don't know if I'll ever get to these new books. Because these books, for so long, even while I was reading Transurfing, I wanted to read these books. And now that they're actually in my closet, I'm struggling. Maybe I just chose the wrong one to start with. Maybe Die Wise was not the best book to read in the beginning because it's a lot of like concepts that I don't really have background knowledge for, and I kind of just got thrown into the belly of the beast. Talking about death, talking about how we live in a culture where people know that everyone else will die, but they don't necessarily know that they will die. Like, yeah, they understand that they'll die, but their actions and their like beliefs and worldview reflects otherwise. Like they, and I'm just becoming conscious of this. Like even I just realized that every day I wake up just expecting to live. Like I never give it a second thought. I don't even think. It doesn't even pass my mind if I'll live or not today. Like I always just, it's gotten like, and everyone, I feel like everyone's like this in our society where you just wake up and go on with your day. You don't even think about whether you're living or not because you just feel like it's a like granted. It's like a guarantee when it's not. And there was one like tribal leader or some person that he talked about in the book Die Wise, where one guy from like native culture or some other like more natural or just some other culture that was not Western society. He basically said that by like most people in your society, like Western civilization society, go to like they just wake up and they never think about whether or not they'll live. Like they just they wake up expecting to live. And he said like he feels deeply sorry for that. Deeply sorry for them. Deeply sorry for me and us and everyone around in this society because this is actually extremely negative for our quality of life apparently. I don't really know how, but that's I think that I'm just starting to get into the part. I just got to chapter 3 like this morning. And chapter 1 and 2 were basically just about like palliative care. See, I don't even remember that much of it. but he was just starting to talk about how when you die, like most people in our society die fighting. Like they die trying to fight death, which means that they're trying to like fight something that is a natural part. I'm not really good at explaining this because I'm not like very knowledgeable at this concept right now, but pretty much if you try to fight your death, then you're basically denying it. And that's why, like, if you've ever heard after a long and courageous fight, that's exactly what people are doing. And when you fight death, you basically interpret your death as an executioner. So there's two options: interpret your death as an angel or an executioner. And when you fight it, you interpret it as an executioner, something that you have to fight. Or you can wrestle with your death, and that will be an angel, which is a lot better. That's how you die wise. And there's also another thing. People try to find the meaning at the end of their life. People try and find like God or the meaning of their life when they're dying. But that's an issue because they never actually created their own meaning. Like there is no meaning to see. There was one story that he told, like this old like folklore or something like that, where the gods created humanity and made it so there was no meaning, and they made it so humans actually had to create their own meaning, but humans didn't know. And so they were like searching all around for the meaning of life, when in reality they just had to create the meaning themselves. Like they were the creator of their own meaning of their own life. And then it was basically like entertainment to the gods. So that story teaches the lesson that you should create your own. You should live life by creating your own, like the meaning of your life. I don't really know how to do that. And I don't really know like what that means 100% yet. But I suspect that these following chapters are going to be about that. And creating like, okay, so most people die like a bad death in our society because they try to find the meaning when in reality they never actually created the meaning of their life during their life. And so if they didn't do that during their life, then they can't expect to actually die well. Their death is going to be very like tragic. It's not going to be as great. So what you do to prevent that, or what you do to actually have a meaningful death, is to have a meaningful life. And that's where I'm at right now in the book. Create a meaningful life. And he hasn't really gotten into how to actually do that. I suspect the next chapter will be about that, but who knows? That's like what I'm at. So all of these notes that I wrote today, I'm checking my notes to make sure that I talked about everything. And it looks like I did, but there's one thing I want to touch for the last minute of this episode. I want to touch about loneliness again. There's like no one. I don't. Okay, I'm surrounded by a lot of people, but I don't really feel connected with them because I just feel distant, because they just seem like on a different planet, because they're in like the Matrix, and I'm just trying to escape the Matrix, and I don't like. That's the best way I can explain it. And I wrote down a sea of average, and then there is you, all alone. Like I'm in a sea of mediocrity, a whole ocean of mediocrity. There's like one picture that I saw one time on like, it was like a stock Google image, and it was like a bunch of like yellow like people icons, like just people symbols, a bunch of yellow people in like a crowd, and then there was one red person. So that's kind of what I feel like right now. I just feel like complete outlier, a complete outcast. And it's very lonely. There's no one really to talk to about it. And I suspect, or what I've been working, trying to break free and trying to become financially free is so I can actually find people around me and surround myself with like-minded individuals. But that's it for today's episode. So follow for more if you're interested, and have a good day.